Do you mind if I say a few words? Thank you.
What better way of spending your hard-won tax money than to send civil servants on courses that show them how to be smart? Not intellectually smart, not instruction in making more intelligent decisions, not classes in efficiency, but a 2-day course at the National School of Government on how to dress. I am not making that up. They get taught how to comb their hair, choose belts that go with their shoes, and how to shop. That's right, how to go into a shop and buy some clothes. These secrets can be unlocked by paying a £1,000 course fee. Fortunately, they don't have to worry, as they aren't paying for it. We are. So naturally, the residential courses are fully booked. The eager students will learn the art of sitting up straight, that eating well and exercising are good things, and they'll receive tips on facilitating communication through presence, which means they'll be taught how to speak up. All of these things we used to get taught at the dinner table when we were 5, but today's senior civil servant is such a hopeless sack of tapioca that they need cajoling to learn the skills of a primary school child. This will help them be better at their jobs, they say. It's just another glorious freebie holiday with catering and ample time to get to fumble with the colour-coordinated underwear of their co-workers, which will all have to be accounted for if they're lucky enough to be selected for the government's latest bright idea, the National Nookie Survey. Armies of clipboard carriers are to descend on us and ask who we have sex with, how often, how long it lasts, how was it for you. I'm not making that up either. The government has decided that, no doubt as a precursor to having compliance cameras in your bedroom, it wants to know what you're doing when it can't see you. Satisfaction graphs will be drawn up, targets will need to be met, and in the event of poor performance, measures will be taken. Measurements will be taken. They're actually coming round to ask you about your sex life. Excuse me, I'm from the government. More than 500,000 people are to be questioned about their sex lives and salaries by government inspectors. Officials will ask for information about former sexual partners, contraception, how long couples have lived together before getting married, you know, that sort of thing. The 2,000 question survey. Somebody shows up on your doorstep saying, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? Oh, yeah. How many is that, then? 2,000. What? That'll be all day, then. 2,000 question survey carried out by the Office for National Statistics have prompted fears of further data scrutiny breaches as both names and addresses will be logged by inspectors.
Oh, no.
Names and addresses. We want your name, where you live, and now. Once we've written that down, can you tell us all about your sex life, please? Pen poised above the paper. You feeling comfortable? Critics say that the £3.5 million a year cost will be a waste of money, because people tend to lie about their private lives and begrudge intrusion into personal matters. Eric Pickles, the Shadow Communities Secretary... Eric, see, now, if you had to guess which party a chap would belong to, Eric Pickles, just which comes first to mind? Not Conservatives. Eric, first of all. Pickles, second. Anyway, Eric Pickles, the Shadow Communities Secretary, says day by day the liberty and privacy of the British public is being undermined by Labour's... like that. People will be shocked that taxpayers' money is being spent on intrusive surveys. I don't think they will be shocked at all. I think it was like par for the course, isn't it? Are you shocked that there's going to be an intrusive survey into the very confines of your life? They'll be shining a torch into the little corners of your existence. Hands up anyone who's shocked. Oh, no one. You got that wrong, Eric. Now state spies want to log and record who sleeps with whom and how often. Not even the Stasi went this far, he said. Inspectors will ask questions as part of a new integrated household survey. They'll visit 200,000 homes at random each year. Oh, I do hope that you're selected. Questions will be asked of each occupant, meaning that about 500,000 individuals will take part. And I wonder if they ask, like, the husband one set of questions, and then the wife the other, and, like, if they don't match up, like, if one is completely satisfied with their sexual performance and one isn't, whether, you know, the fines will be incurred by one or the other.
Do you think they might ask them both together? And then in a few weeks after this survey, there'll be a survey into why more people are getting divorced or something?
Yeah, it'll be like Mr. and Mrs. with consequences. And if you don't pass, then you will, by law, have to part. One of you will have to leave the house with the clipboard-carrying man. One of the questions asks, have you ever had a baby, even one that only lived for a short time? The survey features intimate questions on exact dates when relationships ended. Who can remember that stuff? I mean, how can you remember the exact date that I really hate you? You're going to keep that date in your mind. In fact, Hallmark has a card for that. There will also be 35 questions on contraception, such as whether men have had vasectomies, the brands of pill the women use, and whether they've ever taken the morning after pill. Frank Faridi, a professor of sociology at Kent University, said, when researchers ask about sexual habits, there is a very strong tendency for people to clam up or to say what they think that the interviewer wants to hear. I'd resent being asked those questions, and I don't think the government should be doing it. Why are they doing it? Why would they do that? Ask you, how much do you... well, I suppose statisticians will be crunching these stats, and they'll come out with something like, the people who are earning between less than 15,000 or more than 50,000 a year are the most sexually satisfied. It's all the people who are grasping and struggling in the middle that haven't got time for it, or just too exhausted at the end of the day.
Maybe they're asking because when a politician might get caught in some sort of scandal, the politician can say, well, yeah, it's bad.
But it's perfectly normal.
Yeah. And here are the statistics to prove it.
Yeah, you might have something there. A spokesman for the ONS, you'll like this, said the survey was the most efficient way of meeting the government's information needs. What on earth does that mean? How can the government have a need to know who we're having sex with? He said that all the names and addresses would be deleted from the files once they arrived in the main office, so no worries there. Yeah, we have complete confidence. Here's our first call. The number, by the way, 0845 6060 973. There's quite a bit to talk about today. The weather. Ooh. Walking outside today, it wasn't exactly a presence of warmth, but it was the absence of cold. There is the hint of summer in the air. Did you notice that?
I had an ice cream today.
Really? Where did you buy it from?
The shop next door.
A shop? Did you have to go on a government-funded course to teach you how to do that, or did you just casually walk in and proffer the correct change?
I just stumbled in and saw ice cream.
Me want ice cream. Like that. Because we are all cavemen. There's another thing. I keep going on about this, but one of the reasons that we act so disgracefully is that, essentially, we have cavemen brains in these super sophisticated holdalls that we use to wander about with them in. Does that make any sense? No. Cavemen brains in our in less hirsute containers, which is why all men are disgusting, Rog. We appall me. So there's that. They're also giving lethal drugs to children that are actually killing them, but it's okay because they're on prescription. The coroner versus the Ministry of Defence, which continues to be, if not interesting, then at least fascinating. I don't know, that sounds like a contradiction in terms. The woman that just she didn't resign, she retired from the BBC with a £4 million pension pot. That's a fascinating tale. Speeding tickets are about to get worse. And you're raising your eyes to the roof, Raj, but you know that that's the only thing that people will call this show about. It's not going to get better, it's actually going to get much worse. And, you know, this proposal that they've had to have speed cameras that track your average speed, they're going to do it. In fact, that's a step before they get to what I've been predicting for a long time, is that every car is going to have a chip in it and they're going to track you from space. Every single little thing you do won't be magic. And they'll fine you for everything. But before they do that, they're going to have these average speed cameras. And so over the weekend, I was trying to get my speed. You know, you drive around... If you drive around in the 30 zone, unlike somebody who called last week and said, it's not a target, you don't have to drive at 30, you can drive at like 20 or 25. No, you can't. Not if you want to arrive alive. People shoot you for driving at 25 miles an hour in a 30 zone. They're up your back and they're, flashing you and honking you and giving you various exotic hand signals when they pass you by. You could kill people by driving at 25 in a 30 zone, so incensed and furious they are to get by you. So you have to drive bang on 30. And it's almost impossible. It can't be done without looking at the speedo all the time. Is that a great step forward in road safety? I doubt it. Well, it ain't, because you can either, unless you're Kate Moss and you've got eyes that look in two different directions at the same time, you can either choose to look at the speedo or out the front window. Not both. So I did. I tried it this weekend. Can't be done. People were bouncing off my bonnet, but at least I was keeping to the correct speed. 7:45. LBC Travel with Alan Joyce.
Thanks, Nick. If you're heading into Sheffield...
Absolutely.
We have a laptop to give away in our not give away, up for auction in our How Low reverse auction. It's the person with the lowest unique bid what wins, the HP laptop. It's got the lot, as you'd expect, top of the range, Intel Celeron processor, bing bong, bing bong. It's got built-in wireless capability, an integrated webcam. You can stick your DVDs up it, and it has a 120 gigabyte hard drive.
It is so hard.
To bid, text LBC plus your bid in pence to 88821. If it was £1.10, it would be LBC 110 to 88821. Bids cost £1.50 plus your standard network rate. Lines closed 7 p.m. Tuesday, 22nd of April. Bidders must be over 16. See lbc.co.uk for full terms and conditions. Good luck. Here is Enfield, Israel.
Good evening, Nick. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
I have a simple solution for you.
Oh, yeah.
About your keeping to the speed limit.
Yes, can't be done.
It can be done. Two ways. The cheap way, use your cruise control, set it to 30, and away you go.
Yeah, haven't got a cruise control, neither has almost everybody else on the road.
Well, your man who's doing a good job, you're worth a few quid, go and buy yourself a new car with cruise control.
Oh, right, I'll do that then,
Cruise control, we go one step better, buy yourself a nice 5 Series BMW with a head-up display option. It only costs an extra £900 on top of whatever £40,000 you pay for the car.
Peanuts.
And it display peanuts, exactly. You should be able to afford it. And it will display your speed limit and the information from your sat nav and various other bits and pieces of information dashboard on your windscreen. In the same way as a fighter pilot sees the information on the head-up display on his aircraft.
Right, and if you blink twice, the missiles shoot out the front of your car into a perp who's just cut you up.
I don't think that option is available yet, although I can see the advantage of having it.
Right, that'll be on the 7 Series, will it?
Possible. We'll have to pull the James Bond variant. We'll have to work with BMW, see if they install it. Then we can shoot all these cars with these big sound systems driving around, deafening everyone in the park.
Yeah, well, they have form in that respect, of course. Bavarian Motorworks, yeah.
Yeah.
Without mentioning any brand names. BMW, you say?
Yes, yeah.
Right, okay. I'll check that out. Thanks very much, Israel.
Thank you, but you have a good evening.
All right, cheers. So that's what I'm going to have to do straight away. Raj, can you book that for me?
I'll try, but there is a flaw in the system.
Go on.
In that
I haven't got any money.
Well, there's that. But the other one is that if you've got something on your windscreen, you have to refocus your eyes to look at the information.
Correct.
So you're still taking your eyes off the road, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah. What it actually needs is some sort of audio. But that would get really annoying. Every time it'd be 30, 20, 29.
Could you not just have a small beep or something every time you go over 30 to let you know?
Like that?
Something like that, yeah. In the same way that some cars have that if you go over 100.
Yeah. Mine I can set, but it doesn't beep until I'm about 5 miles an hour over what I set it to tell me. So by the time I know that I'm doing it, I've already lost my licence. Genius. Oh, that was a very long silence. So, as I say, cannot be done. I'll do the weather now, because it's very exciting. Go and wander around outside this evening. It's the first day of the year in which it's felt quite like this. Britain is set for a mini heatwave this week. Woohoo! With temperatures expected to hit, guess how much? That's right. 77 Fahrenheit. 77 Fahrenheit! You any idea what that is? I suppose you're centigrade type people, aren't you?
I would say it's about 23.
Being as you are 12. 25, close enough for jazz. The balmy weather will mean parts of the country are hotter than the Mediterranean. But before you break out the suntan lotion, forecasters are warning that the rain and unsettled conditions will return by the weekend. Nature shows you summer and then takes it back off you. We got at least another, where are we now? End of April, May, June, at least another 2 months before it's actually summer. It's for a bit of July, most of August, that's it. As soon as it does become summer, run screaming from the building and just spend every waking minute outside. Thank me later. Temperatures are expected to rise gradually through the week, peaking on Friday or Saturday before thunderstorms cool things down again on Sunday. The hottest place is expected to be right here, as you would expect, because this is where the most industrious people reside, and here we pay more tax, so it's only right and proper that we should have the better weather too. I mean, wouldn't that be irritating if Liverpool, for instance, just to pick a town at random, got the best weather? Being as how, according to a recent survey, no one works there. By which I mean, at all.
What would be even more annoying is that because they don't work there,
they'd be able to enjoy it, yes. Good point. Given that the average temperature this time of year is 55 Fahrenheit, it's a definite change. The whole country will feel warmer, but the balmiest parts are likely to be in central and southern England. The Met Office does warn that the band of rain coming from the west tomorrow will break up the spell, but says the short-lived showers should move off by Wednesday. So it's after Wednesday, then it's all downhill till Saturday, and then it gets all rotten again. It's just in time for the weekend. Yeah, you're right. Looking further ahead, forecasters say that the May Bank holiday... the May Bank holiday, they've got no idea what it's going to be like tomorrow, honestly, do they? If I get the week's 5-day forecast up today... And then, this is something that people don't normally do, because, they're not obsessed. But if we write it down and then track it day by day this week to see if they were even close, I bet they're a mile off every single day. And now they're telling us that they can tell us what it's going to be like at the end of May. There's 2 bank holidays in May. One at the beginning, one at the end, right? Don't mean nothing to me. DJs just carry on working. Looking further ahead, the forecasters say that the May Bank holiday will also see good weather. Jonathan Powell of Positive Weather Solutions said, Positive Weather Solutions. At the moment, the bank holiday looks settled with mild temperatures. It's got no idea. It's total guesswork. How can it be anything else? Hampstead, hello, Mark.
Hi, Nick.
Mark.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Nick, on this subject of your speed limits and audible or visual signals,
Yeah.
I've been travelling to Singapore on and off each year for about the last 6 or 7 years, and although I know that it's on, or it was on, all commercial vehicles, I only came into contact with it in taxis, and they've got a colossal number of taxis in Singapore, you may well be aware.
No, I'm not aware. I am now. The stuff you learn on this show, Raj, you paying attention?
Well, actually, one of the largest companies in Singapore owns one of the largest black code companies here in London.
Is that right? Manganese Bronze. Crazy name, very sensible people.
But when you reached the speed limit, there was an audible noise inside the car, like an Avon ding-bong, but it would repeat.
Something like that?
Yeah, pretty much. But it would repeat. It would repeat, and it wouldn't switch off unless the speed, the speed of the vehicle reduced below the speed limit. But in addition to that, as you're driving along, you look at the roof of other commercial vehicles, like small vans.
Yeah.
They have a tiny, small amber flashing light, which again starts flashing if they're exceeding the speed limit. So not only as a passenger in a taxi is your attention brought to the fact that the driver is speeding, but also when you're driving along, you can tell that somebody else is speeding because a flashing light's going off on top of their vehicle. Of course, both imposed by their equivalent of our Department of Transport.
Right.
So that's the way they tackle it over there.
The evil Singaporean Department of Transport.
Exactly.
Or the ESDT, as it's known locally, yeah.
Down with chewing gum.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Don't take any gum there, Mark. What's Singapore like to go? Because I would imagine it would be a bit like Disneyland without any of the fun. Just very clean and boring.
In all of those respects, it's wonderful. It's not a holiday destination. It's really a stopover destination. It's somewhere that you'd want to stay for maybe up to about 5 days, a week at a push. But you wouldn't spend 10 days or a fortnight there. You'd get bored silly.
Right.
But
like
as far as hygiene and cleanliness and legality and safety on the streets and so on and so on and so forth, it's the epitome. It's
right.
Perfect.
It sounds
boring.
Really, really great.
Well, if you're a shopper and a foodie, then it's fantastic.
Right.
You can't beat the food and you can't beat the shopping. It's astonishing for that.
Okay. Well, I definitely won't be going there. Thanks very much, Mark.
Take care.
Cheers, mate. Ta-ra.
Bye-bye.
So that's how they do it in Singapore, eh? By alerts, so that you don't break the law and then get fined. They give you every opportunity not to do it, as opposed to in this country where they sneak up behind you and here's a big surprise. But, welcome to Britain. LBC 97.3, 8 o'clock.
Well, let's get back to it.
Here is Epsom. Hello, Chris.
Oh, hi, Nick.
Chris.
I just wanted to bring something to your audience's attention that I don't think many people are still aware of. You were mentioning about possibly in the future they're going to go and try and put a black box in our cars so they can monitor where we go at what time of day and what have you.
Yeah.
Did you know that every email and every mobile phone call in this country is now monitored legally?
Yeah, don't they have it monitored by machines so that if certain words or phrases come up, then it's flagged up for future investigation?
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. Now, if you're in London now, on an average 7-mile journey, you appear on 400 CCTV cameras, the average 4-mile journey. Your emails are monitored. Now, it doesn't matter about at the beginning, it doesn't matter, everybody, including me, might put their hand up and say, that's a great idea to monitor them against terrorism, against people that are using... But then the people that are using the internet, right, for connectivity, they use chat rooms which zip past most of the technologies that are being used. They have to watch the chat rooms with a different type of technology. So how long would it be before, some government tax department decides to monitor your emails between companies or between your accountant or with your lawyer or with anything else? And everything we seem to do, we seem to be walking into with our eyes closed.
Yes, exactly right. We're sleepwalking into it because they're saying, whatever it is that they're proposing, whatever freedom they're proposing to take away from us, they're saying, well, one of two reasons, both of which are impossible to argue against. They say, firstly, it's because we have to fight terrorism. And nobody's going to say, well, hang on a minute, I quite like terrorism, or I don't mind about that, so forget it. And the other is, if the terrorism thing doesn't work, then you've always got the fail-safe backup plan. We're doing it to protect the children. And who's going to say, well, you know what, the children, not that bothered about them. Of course, it's impossible to argue against.
You're right, Nick. You're entirely right with the arguments that are put forward. In America, though, all right, people don't sleepwalk into things quite so easily.
No, they defend the barricades with actual guns. Yeah,
the man the ramparts. They after the Patriot Act, which was a bit like the Criminal Justice Act, which allowed the governments to spy on the populace. CCTV in that has been thrown out of many cities in America, and also the bill that was actually brought in to monitor phone calls and emails, the same as we have in this country, was defeated.
Yeah, well, I don't know what it is about people here, but it's as though that we just can't be bothered to make a fuss, so we just go on with whatever they're proposing, and we don't want to complain we'll grumble amongst ourselves, which is essentially what this is. But we won't actually, we're not prepared to make a stand and say, hell no, we won't go.
you're right, and I really respect you for speaking up for it on your show, because hopefully people people that are listening will start thinking a little bit more. I mean, you only have to look at the way that laws are brought in to deal with a certain set of circumstances that we agreed to, that further down the line are turned against us.
Well, it's exactly what I'm saying. They always present it as though we're doing this for your own benefit. But the truth is, and we found this out just recently, that we can't trust the people who we're giving these powers to. I mean, the council that spied on that family because they thought that they were outside of the school catchment area. For weeks they were spying on them. Now, if that's possible, it's not a great stretch of the imagination to think that... because we recently went from, I think it was maybe 20 or 30 organisations that had the ability to set up yeah, I'm here. To set up surveillance on you, both physically and electronically. There was about, I can't remember exactly how many, I'll make it up, 30. Now, it's something like 750. Basically, everybody. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility. It's just not so far removed from what's possible that somebody in the council says, I really fancy that person up the street. I'm going to say I saw them dropping litter, or what do they call it? Fly tipping.
Yeah.
So I need to find out who they're talking to on their email. I need to read all their emails, and I need to. They don't actually. I think they don't get to see what the contents of the emails are, but they certainly can tell who you're emailing.
Oh no, Nick.
Who you're calling. I'm going to sit with a box of popcorn and a pair of binoculars outside their house and peer into their bedroom. And they can also do it on the council.
Nick, you're misleading on one. They scan the emails now for certain words, names, and what have you, which each have a score rating. And when it hits a certain score, it's then it's recorded and put forward to an interpreter, to a human interpreter that will look at it.
Points make prizes, yeah.
Yeah, but... That's only to scan because the enormous amount of data that's being moved around, and this is internal, emails from a British email to a British email as well as international. But it's not a stretch of the imagination to go after that, right? To say if you were targeting a person, like that poor couple that was spied on for their kid going to school,
to
read every single email that they send, because it doesn't state in the law that allows them to snoop on the emails. We will only look at emails once they reach a certain criteria. It just allows them to scan. So they can change the parameters of the scan anytime they want.
But it's frightening now, the amount of people who can do this. It's basically everyone. Everyone who works in either directly or indirectly with the government. Your local councillors, those dopes who don't collect your rubbish anymore, those people. This is who we're entrusting our personal lives with.
Well, I'll tell you something else. I'm involved in an IT company that provides wireless access at different venues.
Right.
Okay? As an executive member of that company, right, I'm responsible for keeping tabs of every single IP address that logs onto one of my sites. I have to store them for 7 years for the government, for any one of those 600 odd agencies to come along and look at over the next 7 years. And if I fail to do that, I face a maximum jail sentence of 12 years.
Well, I'll send you a care package. Thanks very much, Chris. Cheers, mate. Bad news, eh? It is a bit. I mean, we just sort of, as a nation, he's quite right, we just seem to have sleptwalked in. I'm not comfortable with that phrase. Sleepwalked, not sleptwalked. Sleptwalked. I slept, but you sleepwalked. Even if you did it in the past. We have sleepwalked. Is that right? Oh, who cares? Just get on with it. Now, Americans can watch us through the cameras that are pointing at the roads. I didn't know that they were live all the time. I just thought they took snapshots. Oh, no, I guess these are the congestion charge cameras. They are live all the time. That's taking a constant video image, isn't it? But I had expected it was just saw the number plate and then that was it. But you couldn't actually look through them to peer at the road. An echoing silence. No, I didn't know that either, Nick. Gosh, you're absolutely right. Please carry on. It's truth. Like talking to a wall. Routine journeys carried out by millions of British motorists could be monitored by authorities in the United States and other enforcement agencies across the world under anti-terrorism rules introduced discreetly by Jackie Smith. The discovery that I mean, that can't be her real name. It must be Jacqueline, right? No one was born Jackie. There's no gravitas in Jackie. I mean, it's a nice name, but not for a Home Secretary. She's the Home Secretary, right? Is she the Home Secretary this week? Jackie Smith. I mean, why not Jazza?
Maybe she's trying to be one of the people.
Jackie Baby. The discovery that images of cars captured on roadside cameras and personal data derived from them, including number plates, can be sent overseas, has angered MPs and civil liberties groups concerned by the increasing use of Big Brother. Now, you know, a little while ago, civil liberties groups, oh, blimey, here we go, same old sandal-wearing, Guardian-reading, bearded nutjobs, moaning about, rights are being taken away from us, and you think, what difference does it make? And that's what you think. And when they first start, you think, what difference does it make? I mean, you're not doing anything, you're wandering down the road, minding your own affairs, and no harm done by anybody. But then you come to find out a little while later, well, the point is we can't trust the people that we've been given these powers, because they can do anything with them that they like. I mean, did I paint a scenario that is hard to believe? That somebody would either have some sort of in a council, it could be any council, anybody that works for the council is pretty much able to go and do this. It seems that they could have either a spat with a neighbour, or they could really fancy them, and then they could just basically secretly inveigle themselves into their lives. It's almost as though they were wearing Harry Potter's invisibility cloak and they moved in with them. Taking all the hot water, locking themselves in the bathroom. It's 8:30. Is that, I mean, am I crazy? That's entirely possible, isn't it? And I bet it won't be too long before we come to find out that exactly that's been happening. Somebody will do it. You know they will. They won't be able to stop themselves. What would be your secret, your superpower, Raj? Invisibility, right? Of course. You prevert. It's 8:15. LBC Travel with Karen Mercer.
Monitoring the...
Yeah.
How Low auction is running. It's for an HP laptop, this one. A top-of-the-range little pewterette, which has a built-in webcam. It's got wireless capability, a DVD rewriter, so you can play your CDs and your DVDs and record on them, and a giant 120-gigabyte hard drive. It's just the very thing. You could get it for, you get it for a penny if you bid that, and nobody else does. It's a reverse auction. Lowest unique bid wins. To enter, text LBC plus your bid in pence to 88821. If it was a bid of 51p, it would be LBC 51 to 88821. Bids cost £1.50 plus your standard network rate. Lines closed 7 p.m. Tuesday 22nd of April. Bidders must be over 16. See lbc.co.uk for full terms and conditions. We are in the midst of I can't be bothered state of mind in this country. They're calling it the why bother economy. And they're blaming benefits culture, high taxes, poor education. They're leaving many people lacking the motivation or the capability to succeed, according to a new report that's come out. A report from a think tank. Have you ever been asked to get involved with a think tank, Raj?
Not yet.
Not
I
yet.
live in hope.
No. Okay. How brainy would you have to be, by the way, to get... and wouldn't that be fantastic? Excuse me, we've heard that you really are so incredibly bright, we need sunglasses to look at you. Would you like to be in our think tank? Wouldn't that be great?
Isn't it usually university professors and those sort of people?
Well, it's certainly not DJs. Hey! The cost of the economy, I bet there's not one DJ has ever been asked for their opinion about anything. DJs don't know anything. You only know everything when you become a talk show host. The cost of the economy of low social mobility, £32 billion a year. How do they come up with that then? They just made it up. Or £1,300 to the average family. It seems like there's a lot that is costing the average family £1,300. I can't remember what it was last week. What was it last week? They just came up with some figure that said, Oh, it's costing us all £1,300 each. What was it?
Council tax, maybe?
No, hidden charges, not actual charges you get in an envelope with a window. Stupid. No wonder they haven't asked you to be on a think tank, Raj. In a tank, maybe. Not a think tank.
In front of one, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Whatever happened to that chap who was in front of that tank in China, by the way? I was at the gym all those years ago, however many years ago that was, when that bloke stood... do you remember that? He had a shopping bag. He'd just been to Lidl.
Tiananmen Square.
Yeah, that's right. That's such a great branch, by the way. And he stood in front of the tank. Maybe it was on his way home. He just didn't want to go round. And the tank tried to get around him. You remember those searing images? You'll never be able to forget them, right? There was, the searing images of news reportage down the years. What have we had? We've had that one. Saddam Hussein's statue falling over.
I think there's the napalm bomb dropped on Vietnam, possibly.
Yeah, there's still image of
that girl running.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. Thanks for bringing us all down. Trying to have a happy show here.
Well, look, talking about that also...
Oh, no, not you too.
Also, the Vietnamese man being shot in the head is a very famous news image.
Well, yeah, but could it get any worse than that? Good grief. This is awful. Happy stories we're trying to... You know, the man in front of the tank. That was a happy story, because it was one man and his shopping bag against the might of the Chinese evil overlords. And he won, because the tank didn't run him over, and we were all expecting it to do it. And the tank went one way, and he shifted and stood in front of it, and the tank tried to go to the left, and he shifted to his right and stood in front of it.
What about the fall of the Berlin Wall?
Yes, I was going to say that. Then people with pickaxes chipping away at the top of the wall in order to... eBay hadn't been invented then, but they had it in the back of their minds that there was going to be some way that they'd be able to auction off a little bit of a rock on the worldwide weight, which also hadn't been invented then. In fact, it was invented for that very reason, to sell bits of the Berlin Wall.
I wonder if anyone actually out there has still got a piece of the Berlin Wall.
Right, wouldn't that be interesting to find out?
No.
No, that's right, no. Okay, I'll throw it out to you. The most iconic images of news reporting. That doesn't involve too much death, eh? 0845 6060 973. We'll make a list and we'll award a prize to the person in the picture who wins. Like a stay in an NHS hospital, for instance. You know, something like that. I'm going to need counselling after this show. 0845 6060 973. And I'm asking this for no other reason than it just occurred to me. Does this show sound planned to you? No, not really, no. Anyway. So that number, 0845 6060 973, and then we'll have a little chit-chat, you know, like what do they call it? Oh, that's right, conversation. Britain is suffering from a why bother economy because its benefits, culture, high taxes and poor education system leave many people lacking the motivation or capabilities to succeed, according to a report. £1,300 a year it's costing us because these people can't be bothered. This comes despite higher spending on benefits and public services. I think they've got that wrong. This comes not despite higher spending on benefits, it comes because of higher spending on benefits. How could they have got that so wrong? Almost 180 degrees out. Child poverty has risen, with the number of children classified as low income rising from 2.4 million to 3 million, which is kind of interesting. Considering that it used to be... Oh, let's not get into politics, can't do that right now, can we? People will start hyperventilating. You can say what you like in print, but not in words, out loud. Why? No idea. State schools stand accused of dismal record when it comes to educating the poorest in society. School leavers from poor backgrounds doing only half as well as the average 16-year-olds. There's also a geographical division with 3 times the number of people in parts of northern England claiming disability benefits than in the southeast. They're not able to get up off their wobbly bottoms and switch Trisha off and go out and get a blooming job. That's why they're not able. Means-tested benefits and higher tax have reduced individuals' incentives to increase their incomes. In other words, they're being paid so much by the government to sit hard into their sofa that they can't be bothered to go out and actually earn money. Isn't that incredible? The unintended consequence has been a why bother economy in which a significant minority don't have the capability or motivation to succeed. Well, it's not succeed, really. I mean, you know, you're stacking shelves at Sainsbury's, without mentioning any brand names. Other shelves are available. That's not anyone's definition of success, but at least it's better than just doing nothing for the rest of your life, isn't it? I mean, you'd be out there, you know, meeting people. Oh, I take it all back. People. Ugh. Reform. I could do that job. Meeting the public. I'm a people person. Reform is asking for a coordinated reform. That's this think tank, right? It's asking for a coordinated approach to policy that would encourage individuals with less government intervention and lower taxation. Yeah, we can hold our breath. But the where this is happening is quite interesting. UK black spots, where 1 in 5 claims benefits. 1 in 5. And that figure is of people who are not just unemployed now, but have been unemployed since the dawn of time, as were their parents and their parents' parents. There's just giant pools of inactivity in the country where nobody does anything at all. Guess where they are? That's right, Wales. Of the top 10, I'll read you the top 10. Number 1, this is percentage of the population that claims benefits, okay? Number 1, Wales. There's parts of Wales, but I'll just read out every time there's a part of Wales, I'll just say Wales because it'll underline it more. Number 1, Wales. Number 2, County Durham. Number 3, Wales. Number 4, Wales. Number 5, Liverpool. Number 6, Liverpool. Number 7, Wales. Number 8, Wales. Number 9, Glasgow, which is in Wales. And number 10, Middlesbrough. Occasionally, I think, and I don't know if this sounds an unreasonable suggestion, but wouldn't it be great if we had a giant space saw that could slice off the southeast of England and set the rest of the country adrift, as the Icelanders do to their old people? Wouldn't that be great? Because they're dragging us down. It's like they're not part of the solution; they're part of the problem. Isn't that right, Raj?
Absolutely.
Let's have Beckenham. Hello, Jim.
Hi, good evening.
Jim.
Images that you don't forget.
Right.
Margaret Thatcher leaving number 10.
Oh, no, that's a really good one, yeah, with tears in her eyes.
A little lingering look over her shoulder.
Yes.
And it was very sad.
Yeah, she looked... even people who don't like Margaret Thatcher, it was... Well, people who don't like... All those people shouting Maggie, 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 they weren't sharing her tears, really, were they? There was tears streaming down their face of laughter, joy and happiness. Skipping in the street they were, in their giant hobnail boots.
I think they probably still are skipping.
Even now, yeah, hand in hand.
Their unemployment benefits.
Yeah, that's a good one. Thanks very much, Jim.
Okay,
cheers. Shall we compile a list? Oh, who cares?
Let's.
Do you really want to? Do you really want me to? All right.
Some interesting images that time forgot.
Thatcher.
That we'll bring back.
The Chinese tank bloke. I wonder whatever happened to him. It can't be good, whatever it is.
When it was Phil in Orpington.
It was Phil in Orpington.
I said, why don't you ask Phil in Orpington?
Oh, right. Hey, Phil.
Hi.
I wonder what happened to that bloke in front of the Chinese tank with the Tesco's bag in his hand.
He got arrested.
Arrested?
Yes. He disappeared after it all went quiet, and then the Chinese authorities were looking for him, and his sister turned him in.
What?
Yes.
Why? Because he was hogging the bathroom or something?
No, she turned him in because they were looking for him, and what he did was wrong, according to the Chinese culture, according to how the Red Book went. It was all wrong.
And his sister agreed that it was wrong and turned him in?
His sister turned him in, yes.
Blimey.
Now, how do you like that for a sister?
Well, I don't.
Yeah.
As far as sisters go, you'd have to put that in the bad pile.
It's a definite bad pile.
Yeah.
So
is he still inside?
No. He served. I can't remember how long he served. It says over a year though that he served in there.
Right. I'm amazed they let him out.
Yeah. Yes, they locked him up for a while.
Right. He's probably part of the foundations to the Olympic arena.
Well,
at least he's doing his bit.
And he's doing his bit. Supporting it is called.
Yeah, supporting the Olympics, yeah. Thanks very much, Phil.
Okay, then.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right. He's supporting the Olympics. What could be better than that? I wish you were supporting the Olympics, Raj.
I am.
LBC 97.3. I'm Nick Abbott. I'll be back. It's 8:30.
Everything is going extremely well.
You bet your life it is. Is this worth pursuing, do you think? Are people actually going to come up with anything? Or shall I just forget it, like everything else on this show? Just move on to parking. I've got, so far, Margaret Thatcher leaving Downing Street, the Chinese tank man, who was arrested immediately afterward and flogged to within an inch of his life, I bet. Various images from Vietnam, which we'd rather we hadn't seen in the first place, right? Thanks very much for that, Visa. Bringing us all down. I've got one. Neil Kinnock falling over in the surf. You know, he was trying to do his I'm normal routine, walking in the surf with the one I love. Everybody. And then he fell over. How'd you fall over walking on the beach?
Maybe he slipped on a pebble.
I think the water came in a little bit too fast and he tried to back away. And the man was not for turning. So he didn't turn around and run away. He ran away backwards. Fell over.
They used that image in the Mr. Blobby music video.
The what?
Do you remember Mr. Blobby?
Well, sadly, yes.
He had a music video because he made a song, and they used that image.
Victoria's off. Right. So is that the kind of thing that you enjoy watching at home then, is it, Raj? Mr. Blobby? You are so down with the kids. 0845 6060 973. Searing images that you, not unpleasant images, but just iconic images from a news gathering over the years.
What about the man on the moon?
But which iconic image would that be, though? See, even in a moving a presentation, there's always a split second, the image, because what you were talking about with the Vietnam images, they were essentially still images, weren't they? Even though there is video coverage of both of those incidents, it's the still image that that is the one that you remember, which is kind of odd, isn't it, really? The way the brain works, even from your own life, you do tend to remember events as a series of still images, don't you? Rather than the remember as a video. We do send it's almost like it's snapshots really that we're storing mentally. Don't you find that odd? I'd never really thought about that before. Apparently not.
Well, I suppose it's because that snapshot is the pinnacle of that whole moment.
Right. Well, you're not as crazy as you look. Yeah, that makes sense. And Margaret Thatcher, I think the iconic image of Margaret Thatcher leaving the number 10, although I can remember some of it as a video, but she comes out, looks like she's about to cry, looks at the people in the window of number 10 who've got the curtains back and they're taking a wee peek, and then she gets into the car, leans forward, and you can see her through the window looking at the press for the last time. She won't be speaking to them commandingly anymore. And it's that, almost you're seeing her as a human being for the very first time. So I think that was the nature of that image. 0845 6060 973 said, struggling as always. Okay, your favourite parking spot. Call me now. It's truth. All right. They don't like that one. Something else. Speeding tickets. No, he's shaking his head. Well, I start running out. I mean, I've got 30 things, but I know that every single one of them I'll get nothing. What's the point? How about the BBC pension lady? One of the BBC's longest-serving employees is leaving the corporation with what is believed to be the biggest individual public sector pension pot worth almost £4 million. Jenny Abramsky, 61, who's stepping down as the Director of Audio and Music, has worked for the BBC for 40 years. Under the terms of a final salary scheme, she'll be able to withdraw more than £190,000 a year when she leaves to become chairman of the Heritage Lottery Fund. 190 grand as a pension. Under the BBC pension schemes, which allow staff to retire at 50, the corporation pays in 3 times the amount paid in by employers. And by that they mean we do. The corporation doesn't. It has no money other than what we give it. We pay it. You got a pension?
Not yet, but I've got some savings.
Neither is anybody listening to this right now. I bet there's barely a single person listening to this right now that's actually got a pension that's going to sustain them in their retirement years. And if they do have a pension, it'll be worth nothing. Yet, you can't pay into your own pension because you haven't got the money, but you're being forced by law, otherwise you'll go to jail, to pay for the BBC's, and they pay 3 times what their employers pay into their own pension. There isn't another pension scheme like that in the world. 3 times as much we pay for them. And I'm mystified by this because they're not paying for hours, are they? No government employee is paying for our pensions. It's only a one-way street. We're paying for theirs. We can't afford our own, but we're paying for theirs. Why? Why are we paying for their pensions when they're already handsomely remunerated? She was on £316,000 a year. I mean, you can't afford to pay into your own pension on that kind of money? That's just incredible, don't you think? Corinne Taylor, the research director of the Taxpayers Alliance, said it was wrong that licence fee payers were contributing to the packages enjoyed by BBC executives. It's not just the BBC, of course, it's everybody that works for government. The entire machine of government is being is being paid for much more generously than you could get in the private sector. Not just while they're working, but when they're not working as well. And how many times have you read lately that nobody in this country has got a pension? Nobody's paying in to mitigate the the long period at which you would just be sitting twiddling your thumbs after you stop working. For us, of course, 65, 67, something like that. For them, 50. They can put their feet up at 50. We have to work an extra 15 years, presumably, so that we can pay for their retirement. It's just like living in Russia. We've got to this unfair state of affairs where huge numbers of people who don't have a decent pension are having to pay ever higher taxes to fund gold-plated public sector pensions. Why are we doing this? Philip Davis, Conservative MP who sits on the Select Committee for Culture, Media and Sport, said, people in the public sector are enjoying these massive pension packages at a time when lots of people in the private sector are seeing the value of theirs decimated. Well, this also applies to politicians, doesn't it? Don't they get a gold-plated pension paid for by us on top of the giant expenses and the pretty good salary when you think about it? BBC spokesman said Miss Abramsky's pension package was a testament to her long service. Jenny is on exactly the same pension scheme as other employees who joined at the same time as her. Well, that's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. There's loads of them. This is not a free benefit. Jenny has contributed to the scheme throughout her time at the BBC and is entitled to it. I'm sorry, it is a free benefit. What she contributed, that's fine. But for us to have to treble what her contributions are, there can't be anybody in this country that thinks that's acceptable. Is there anyone? I was stunned when I read that. 3 times as much. I pay more into her pension than I do into mine. And that's the case with everybody in the country. And of course it's not just her, it's everybody who gets their paycheck direct from government. Amazing. There is an apartheid in this country. It's definitely them and us, and I think doesn't the government employ something like half the population? Isn't it something incredible like that? You're screwing your face up there, Raj.
That's a lot of people.
It's a massive amount. But isn't it something like... it's either half the population is directly employed by the government or on benefits provided by them. Something like that.
That's shocking.
Are you shocked?
So shocked, yes.
So shocked you can't believe it. South Norwood. Hello, Tony.
Hello, good evening.
Tony.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, CCTV cameras. I'll give you the good and the bad.
Yeah.
The bad is Westminster Council. You don't even want to think about slowing down in Westminster because they'll give you a ticket for parking by their CCTV camera, which is bad.
Yes.
But when you get arrested for stupidity, which is something I got arrested for.
Did you?
Yes, well, it's sort of. I was then able to prove that I wasn't where they thought I was by the sort of the fact that I'm a taxi driver who drives around London all day, and they were able to go, oh yeah, you were there, 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 and I was able to prove I wasn't in my living room.
Huh.
So, although I don't actually like the idea of surveillance too much, sometimes it can, just occasionally, it can work in your favour.
So they actually went to footage from CCTV cameras and said, oh yeah, there you are.
That's what they told me they were going to do, because my alibi for not being where they thought I was that I was out driving a taxi, and they said, okay, we'll check that on the congestion zone cameras and on CCTV cameras at the airports. Because whenever you drive into the car park at the airports now, they take a picture of your number plate and your face.
Right.
Not just so they knew. And company I work, I spend quite a lot of time at the airport, so they could probably get 10 pictures of me a week in the airport car parks.
Well, I hope you comb your hair, Tony.
Not really a problem for me.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
What were you going to be? Are you dancing around it? You don't want to tell us? What was you going to be arrested for?
Let's put it this way. If you ever get wireless router at home for your computer, make sure you encrypt it. Otherwise, one of your neighbours will probably be sitting there doing naughty things over the internet via your modem if you leave it unencrypted so that anyone can get into it.
Right. Okay.
And they assumed it was me, and it wasn't.
Well, sage advice. All right. Well, thanks very much for that, Tony.
Okay, then.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, he's right. It can... I suppose it could save you if you are looking for an alibi. But it certainly doesn't prevent crime, do they? I mean, the amount of the proliferation of cameras pointing into our every orifice and every waking moment hasn't dropped crime at all. I think they've actually stopped saying that it's for that, haven't they? Because it's almost it's impossible to back up now. I don't think anybody believes anything they say anyway. But I think that was the initial reason, of course, that they put all these cameras up. Not the car cameras, but just the CCTV pointing at the street. I bet that's still the reason. Or they'll say it'll be because of terrorism and children, because of terrorist children. But it doesn't prevent crime. Of course it doesn't. It just, it's like I've said before, it just gives the News at 10 exciting footage to play on the telly. Here is... Oh, let me go to the travel, and then I'll come back, take a call. 0845 6060 973. It's 8:45. LBC Travel with Karen Mercer.
It's a good idea to get someone else's opinion.
Thurrock. Hello, Greg.
Hello, Nick.
Greg.
All right?
Yeah, very well.
You were talking about images of news.
Yes. Now, I see on my screen what you're going to say, and I wish that you wouldn't.
What, about any of it?
Well, there's only one word, begins with a B.
B?
B.
Oh, the place, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
As in...
Right. Well, because, why is that?
Well, it's just not a very nice story. Okay. It begins with B and ends in Elson. Yes. Well, I was talking about iconic images from the news.
Yeah.
And,
well, I only mention that because it was the first time, as a child, it was the first time that I'd seen something which brought out anger and a kind of a fear and outrage that people could do things, outside my own little home. The effect of it was so profound. It's something that stayed with me.
Well, I can remember there was this magnificent series called The World at War.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And the episode that dealt with the concentration camps had footage of and I can still see it, even though I looked away really quickly when they showed it. It's once you've seen it, you can't get rid of it, right?
Exactly.
And yeah, that's why I didn't want you to say it.
Well,
start reliving those images now.
Yeah, I know, and it is upsetting, but that's what proper journalism's about, you know.
Yes.
And the same with Vietnam, because you know that was the first war that was televised and brought into people's homes, and it effectively steered the change in the Americans' approach to the war.
That's right. You say it was the first, but it was also perhaps the last, because
because I think
they don't get that access anymore.
Well, you do, but it's covered over, and we're just covered. We're completely.
You don't really get that access anymore. I mean, they used to be in with the fighting. They're not in with the fighting anymore. You hear, you look at reporters from over there now, and they're in their hotel, or they're, by a roadside somewhere where something did happen some time ago. They're never actually in there while it's going on.
No, well, I don't know. Not having a television, I don't get to see any of that
stuff.
But I don't. I can imagine why, because they can understand the effect that it might have back home.
Well, yeah, they don't want anything that they haven't previously okayed being broadcast.
Yeah, but the iconic things now, they might be something that stays with an individual for particular reasons. But the problem is that with journalism, it doesn't do the job, which is to change the way that you think about things and want things to change.
Oh, I don't know. Is that the purpose of journalism, to change the way you think about things, or rather than just to reflect how... I was going to say reflect how things actually are, but it's not even that, is it? It's to reflect how the journalist sees things.
Well, to show the truth, and thereby possibly change, because you may have been going along thinking, oh, we're the good guys, or this is this is fine, or there's not a real problem here, and then suddenly you see something that represents the complete opposite, or it may confirm what you're thinking.
Yeah.
But it brings you the truth. But now all you get is airbrush stuff, and the iconic images are pretty much worthless. They're just things.
Well, I'm trying to think of any that were of late.
What important stuff you mean?
Well, just just great images. If you were to compile a list, say you had a gallery and you wanted to put on the 100 greatest photographic news images of all time. I mean, I bet somebody's tried to do that. It doesn't seem that would be a crowd pleaser, it seems to me. What would you do? And I'm sort of struggling to come up with anything that's recent. Well, yeah. I mean, there was the guy who put the flowers in the guns of the National Guard during the Vietnam unrest at home in America. That was a Kent State University, perhaps one of those. So there's that. There was the Chinese tank guy. There was Thatcher leaving office. Kinnock falling over in the water. Various unpleasantries in Vietnam, and also the
at the end of the war.
Yes.
During the war.
But I'm trying to think of anything that was in any way recent. I'm not coming up with anything. You got anything in there?
What, myself?
No. In there through the glass. What tremendous contribution you two have made on the show so far.
I would think it would be something of a sporting event, maybe.
Ah, okay, that's interesting. Sporting.
Oh,
right.
Yeah. But that's what we get. And there's an awful lot going on out there that we all know. But we don't seem to be getting much, well, at least from the newspapers. I can't speak for television, but from the newspapers, there's not that much that's going to stun us and that's going to stop us in our tracks and say, wait a minute, this is wrong. We need to do something about this. Like there was years ago.
I don't have any faith in journalism anymore. I don't think it exists apart from a few isolated pockets. I think journalism is essentially taking what comes off the fax machine or through emails and then reprinting it verbatim in the newspaper. I mean, you look through the tabloids and it's all just PR fluff.
Well,
whatever the public relations company of whoever they're trying to sell at the moment is releasing as a story, the newspapers gladly accept it because no thought required, and they just reprint it in full.
No, it's just celebrity and pat and
nonsense.
The real, the Pilgers and the Snows and all the people that would do stuff that made us sit up and listen. For some reason, the papers, the media are pushing them away and saying, "Oh, we don't want to because we just want people to feel nice and."
Yeah, well, I think the reason is us.
Yeah.
I think that we have. It's almost as though now. Well, you get into the. Is it because that's all we get, or is it? Is that all we get because that's all we want?
It's what we deserve. We get what we deserve.
I suppose so.
When I read some of the tabloids that are strewn around at work sometimes, and I'm just gobsmacked at what the content of it. And I think people, not only did they read it, the following day they go back and pay money and will start reading it all over again.
Yeah.
And it just numbs the brain.
And it is the same all over again.
Yeah.
I mean, especially lately, there's been hardly any. I think the biggest story lately is Prince William flying his helicopter. Yeah. And they're just repeating it over and over and over again because they haven't got anything else. Of course, the politicians have been on Easter break. How much holiday do those people need? Easter break. They're still away. Well, they're back, and so there'll be a little bit more, intrigue and infighting because they're all having a bad time right now.
I've just got to. I've got to eventually go and see the footage of the Twin Towers.
You haven't seen that yet?
I've never seen it.
You are kidding.
No, I've seen brief seconds of it and stills from it. But
are you connected to the internet?
No. The beginning to end, it's just. I've never seen the whole thing, and I thought to myself, well, does that affect the way that I reacted to what happened, or what?
Well, how did you react to what happened?
Well,
how did you even? So you read about it in the newspaper?
I read about it,
right.
Heard about it on the radio, and discussed it with people. But I thought to myself, does that mean that I'm somehow not as empowered as everybody else to have an opinion?
Well, it certainly seems like if there's any hour of coverage of an event that you should see picked at random, or rather picked from the last 30 years of television news, that's probably the one to pick.
But why? Because of the wow, apart from the wow factor.
Well, yeah, I mean you don't want to be flippant, but it does look like the greatest special effect film in history.
Well, exactly, and I think that numbs people. Eventually, it's like you get these images, and that's one of them, and they just go by and go by and go by, and in the end, people become indifferent to it. It's sort of a quick, "Oh, blimey, look at that," and then stand there and go, "Oh," and then after a few minutes or whatever, it's back onto the next thing.
Yeah, I think it's worth the seeing, but you've missed the.
But why? Well, does it change my political view about the whole situation, or does it just give me, the greatest spectacular on earth that happens to be real life? But I suspect a lot of people now it muddles into Towering Inferno and so on and so forth,
right.
And it's just part of the Technicolor lunacy that's going on out there.
Yeah, the second one of the two.
Yeah.
It won't help you or understand it more clearly.
But I think people may believe that it does, because they've seen it, because they've been part of it, and say, well, I'm privy to that image, and therefore I'm entitled, whatever my opinion is, it's boosted by all the technology that's allowed me to see it face to face.
Well, I think the key was seeing it as it was happening.
Yeah.
But now it's happened, and you know how it ends, so to speak. It'll be less vital in the true sense of the word.
But I can't remember, of all the papers, I normally get the Sunday papers, and there's nothing in the last few months that stood out, and I've thought to myself, that tells a story, and I'll investigate it, and is that true? And that comes in.
I suppose that's the key, isn't it? Pictures that tell a story, single images that tell the story, and of course from that, from the event that we were talking about, the one image that told the story was the twisted piece of truncated metal that formed the base of one of the buildings, shot against the sky. I think that was like the and I think that somebody placed the flag just behind it, hadn't they, or something like that.
Yeah, the only one that I saw that I actually framed it was that I happened upon that someone had it was a paper that someone had left, and it was an Afghan guy that they were receiving rice from America, and it was a silhouette of the guy in relief, and he was carrying a sack of rice on his back and on his head, and it had the Stars and Stripes stamped on the sack.
Right.
And it was the burden of America on this guy, and yet there was food inside, and there was that. I'm going to use that word juxtaposition.
Oh,
uh-oh.
it's the J word.
And I thought that was a very clever photograph.
Yes.
You know.
Maybe the guy just snapped someone carrying a bag. And then
sure.
just by happen chance.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know.
Of course, that's how most of them happen.
Right, exactly. Yes, just sheer dumb luck.
Yeah.
All right, thanks very much, Greg.
Okay.
Cheers, mate. Right. It's 0845 6060 973. So we'll add those to the list and continue as was. This is LBC. And up, LBC 97.3.
Are you trying to tell me that this is your act?
By the way, Joe Parkinson, our show business editor, is going to come in and talk about that Mackenzie Crook film that people have been protesting about, and that'll be in about sort of 9:30, something like that. Swiss Cottage, hello, Bill.
Hello, Nick.
Bill.
Nice to talk to you.
And you.
I have spoken to you once before.
Oh, yes.
You were talking about unemployment in England and Wales and such like, and the various black spots.
Yeah.
My son lives in South Wales, and he lives in Port Talbot.
Right.
And he works for the local council. And as such, his part of his job is to go out to the valleys and to go and do various repairs. He says that the only way you know anybody's living there is the occasional twitch of a curtain. He said there are whole families there, grandparents, parents, and children who have never worked. And he said there are jobs available, but they've been taken up by the Polish.
Yeah, isn't that incredible? I think somebody did...
because there are jobs available, they don't want
to do them, that's right.
Yeah.
Somebody did, I can't remember what it was, but it was on television recently, somebody told me about it. In fact, I read it in the paper. That they were examining just this issue. They were going around, I think they went up north somewhere, Sunderland perhaps, and they were interviewing local people, and they're saying, there ain't no jobs here.
But there are jobs, though, Nick. There are jobs that they just do not want to do. The work ethic is gone. By the way, I do like your last caller's word, juxtaposition, whatever it means.
Oh, it's a good one, eh?
Yeah, what does it mean?
The juxtaposition, you know what juxtaposition means. It's when two things are in opposition to each other. If they are juxtaposed. Get the I know how to use. Get the dictionary definition of juxtaposition up on the screen for me there, Raj. He's bursting into action, a flurry of activity, an ecstasy of fumbling. Thanks, Bill.
It intrigues me anyway. Thanks very much for talking to me, Nick.
Cheers, ta-ra. 0845 6060 973. Yeah, it's a juxtaposition. Of course, when you put on the spot, you can't come up with the actual dictionary definition, but I bet I could use it in a sentence. Okay, this is going to be entertaining. Oh, he spelt it right. What about that? Excellent work, Raj. You get to stay. Juxtaposition, a placing or being placed, in nearness or contiguity. What the... Or side by side, often done to compare contrast. Yeah, that's it. Comparing and contrasting, if something is in juxtaposition. Isn't that right, Visa? That is correct, yes. Oh, lovely cup of tea. Thank you very much. Let's have Kenley. Hello, Tony.
Hello, mate. You all right?
Yes, good, thanks.
Good. Well, firstly, I tried driving at 30 miles an hour with the cruise control on.
Yeah.
I thought the car was going to cry.
It doesn't sit well at that speed, does it?
It doesn't. And the thing is, you know, as soon as you slow down, it goes off. Then when you pull away again, you've got to set it again. So you're probably looking away from the road more than you would do if you just took your chance.
I don't think many people have the luxury of a cruise control. I don't.
No.
And so what you're doing is, and like I said, I tried this weekend. You just find yourself looking at the speedo all the time. I mean, you know you're not doing 40 because that feels faster. You know more or less it's 30, but more or less isn't good enough anymore. If they're going to track your speed over several points, then doing 32 or straying up to 35 and then slowing down, that's going to it will lose you your licence.
Well, you've got to start somewhere. So I suppose 30.1 miles an hour average, they could, in theory, do it. And the way they're trying to get money out of it, they probably would do. Really, couldn't they? Yeah, I mean, if it's 30, it's 30, and if it's slightly over, however slightly, they could probably do you.
I'm certain that they will. Yes.
Yeah. Iconic image.
Yes.
You won't appreciate it because it's a sport one, football. But as we know, most players now are overpaid, prima donna cheats, but we need a bit of passion. And Stuart Pearce missed a penalty in the 1990 World Cup and was desperately...
Yes, he was.
Inconsolable.
Upset, yes.
And then, of course, he scored one in Euro 96, and a look of passion on his face.
Well, I can bring that image up right now. He's screaming at the crowd. His mouth is wide open, and his fists are clenched in those tiny comedy shorts that footballers used to wear.
We need a few more players like that, I think.
Yes, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah. All right, that's a good one. Thanks very much, Tony. Cheers. Yeah, that iconic image of Stuart Pearce. Yes, everybody remembers that. Of course, the other one that football brings to mind is Paul Gascoigne getting his parts squeezed by what's his name?
Vinnie Jones.
Vinnie Jones. Yeah, Vinnie Jones versus Paul Gascoigne.
I thought you were going to mention the crying man.
Well, I suppose if we're on the subject of Paul Gascoigne, then the crying as well. Yeah, where he's tugging his shirt, and he is also inconsolable. Yes. Who would have thought, by the way, that Vinnie Jones versus Paul Gascoigne, that Vinnie Jones would have won? You know, the game of life. Isn't that disappointing? You know, some people, their success is actually irritating, don't you find? It's true. Vinnie Jones became a movie star?
What?
I know. Here is Forest Hill. Hello, Jill.
Hello.
Jill.
I'm not that... Nick. I'm not that surprised by Vinnie Jones being, you know...
Becoming an actor?
Having his... No, for having his success, because I think one of the starkest differences, life differences between Paul and Vinnie is that Vinnie has, for whatever reason, he's a lucky man, he has a stable family life by the sounds of things. I mean, you know, he's got his wife and kids and they're all together, whereas poor old Gascoigne, you know, it's all fallen apart. And,
Jill,
you know.
Everybody has a stable family life compared to Paul Gascoigne.
Well, there you go now, you know, so we shouldn't be so surprised that,
Right.
you know, things have failed to him. But I didn't really call to talk about it, just that struck me when you mentioned that. And I wish him well. The journalists, and, you know, sort of getting what we deserve, etc. I think, you know, we've got the type of journalism because 90% of the time they've been feeding us, you know, the dark areas of life. And there's only so much of that, you know, we can stomach before we'll end up turning to even the most intelligent of us, you know, even... you know, the brightest people will end up looking at Chantal and going, yes, you know, give me more of that in the news.
Yeah, I suppose so,
just to shed some light on it. I don't know, I think we need to get a balance in there somewhere, but, you know, maybe we need brighter journalists to be able to, you know, find that middle ground for us.
Well, that's an interesting thought, actually, because people have often said, you know, oh, the news is always full of bad news, it's just misery and mayhem and recent deaths in your area. But I suppose there's actually been a move away from that, and it's into celebrity frippery. Yeah, there is a juxtaposition between the coverage of celebrities' cellulite and what is actual news. And you're actually right, that there does seem to have been a backing away from actual news. I mean, if you read the most popular papers, which are the Sun during the week and the News of the World at the weekend, there ain't no news in them.
No, you know, you've got to try. I mean, this awful story about the, although it's 20-odd years old, but it's one that strikes me now. You know, the poor private investigator who's investigating police corruption gets an axe in the head, you know. You know, I'll turn to the page and go, I've had enough of all this dark stuff. Where's Chantal?
Yes, I think that's actually what's happened.
I can't stand her.
I wouldn't know if I tripped over her in the street, which I fully expect to do, eventually. All right, thanks very much, Jill.
Okay, bye.
That is an interesting way of looking at it. It's not actually that we're obsessed with frippery and nonsense. It's just that we can't stand real life anymore. It's just got too bad. And it's probably not that it's changed. It's probably not that more people are dying than they were in, say... the turn of the previous century, when London streets were, you know, like medieval times, for instance, when life was much cheaper even than it is now. So it's not like the human condition has changed and that we're all worse to each other than we used to be. It's just the speed of communication has increased dramatically, and so we get to hear about much more than we used to. Things that used to happen in the next village, you'd never hear about, because who would ever go there, right? If you wanted entertainment, you go and look at the village fool. These days, of course, we can hear about the village fool in Hungary or Australia or wherever he might be making an ass of himself. So it's just that there's so much misery available to us 24 hours a day now that I think that you still might have something there, that we've just actually blocked it out. It's not that we're more interested in nonsense anymore. It's a coping mechanism. We just can't cope with this deluge of misery, and so we're burying ourselves in who's got orange peel thighs and all that rubbish. Maybe that's what that is. The stuff you find out on this show. It's an education, ain't it?
No.
9:14. LBC Travel with Karen Mercer.
The studio calls flashing up on the indicator.
Peterborough now, Andy.
Hi, phoning because you had a caller a couple of minutes ago talking about work ethic.
Yeah.
And how the work ethic's gone down in this country, and you were citing that documentary you'd watched.
I didn't get to the end of it. What they said was they'd gone into an unemployment benefit office, and having previously filmed Polish workers in fields doing sort of back-breaking work, picking fruit and so on, and there was no end of jobs for them, and they were, and it was all a foreign workforce. And then they went as a juxtaposition, if you like, into a benefit office, and looked at the sullen youths in there, and they said, well, so, have you been able to find any work? They said, oh, no, there ain't no jobs round here. There ain't no jobs round here. Them having previously filmed hundreds of people who have picked up jobs that nobody locally wanted to do. And as to cap it all, to put the cherry on top of the cake, as they were describing the lack of employment opportunities, one of those who are being interviewed opened a can of Stella.
Yeah, well, see, the reason why, because that documentary was actually shot in Peterborough.
Right.
Right, and for years the local economy's been depressed because there's all this work available, but no one wants to do it.
Right.
And so, as far as I'm concerned, the polls have been a blessing for the local economy.
Yeah, please don't go.
I think they've been great. The reason why, other thing I was phoning for is because I recently moved to Peterborough from Pimlico.
Are you out of your mind? You deliberately moved to Peterborough?
Yeah. I'll get there in a minute. But the area I was living, I could go in a pub every night of the week, and I'd be the only person in a pub who wasn't in receipt of unemployment benefit.
Where, in Pimlico?
Yeah.
That wasn't in receipt of unemployment benefit? In Pimlico?
Yeah, Pimlico, it's tremendous social divide. You know, you've got the very wealthy and the very poor.
Right.
So I could go in a pub, and they're all on the dole, and yet every person's working, cash in hand.
Ah.
So there is the work ethic there. I just think the welfare state has just been a bit too generous.
Well, this is what they say, yeah. I mean, once it becomes... And you hear this so many times, well, I can't take a job now because I'd be earning less money than I would if I just sat watching Jeremy Kyle all day.
Yeah.
Well, then I think you've got to the point at which you're paying them too much.
Yeah, I think we should have the American system whereby you have 26 weeks and thereafter it's food stamps.
That does make sense.
Because then they'd have no incentive to stay at home.
Exactly.
And it would, by working, they'd be generating wealth. And
I know what it's... I've spent long periods unemployed or doing precious little. I'm doing precious little now.
Mm-hmm.
And I do know that it's actually... Once you're into a cycle, a rut of not working... It's incredibly hard to get yourself together, to get out there and do something. You just kind of feel as though, well, you feel a bit helpless, like a child, as though you want someone to come in, pick you up, and give you a new life, really.
But you can do it. I mean, I spent 4 years unemployed through no fault of my own. Was homeless and everything, but I picked myself up, got myself qualifications, bought my own home, I'm now doing a PhD, so if I can do it, anyone can.
Right. You dusted yourself down, you picked yourself up, and you started all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. OK, good. Thanks very much, Andy.
OK, thanks a lot.
Cheers. 0845 6060 973. There is something to be said about that if we got to the point where it's easier to stay doing nothing than it is to actually, contribute, then something's gone seriously wrong somewhere. Or am I just being a Nazi by saying that? Is this the sound of a ranting fascist? Raj?
Not at all. I think that people who do stay at home and do nothing, that becomes their daily routine.
Yes.
So if that's your routine, in the same way that my routine might be to get up and go to work every day, it would be hard for me to go from full-time work to no work.
Oh, I could do that. Like that. Instantly.
No, but
I'd love to do nothing.
Yeah, but if you trained your whole life and all you've known is to go up and get to work.
Yeah.
The first few weeks of you not doing anything, you'd still get up at the same time, and you'd still think, "Oh, I should be doing something," and be hard for you to enjoy your nothingness.
Right. I suppose I mean, when I was on holiday recently, the second part of the holiday was in Phuket, where there's nothing really to do, unless because I had a sore knee at the time. I had torn my meniscus.
Stop whining.
And so I couldn't really walk around very much. There was actually literally nothing for me to do. I just had to stay pretty much within the hotel compound, go and have a drink, go and have lunch, lie down, get up, have a drink, have dinner, lie down. That was it. It's the first time I've ever done that on holiday. Every holiday I've ever had has been like either an adventure type or like city-based, ticking things off on a list. Seen that, like that. And so it was less like a holiday, more like work, essentially. But I was in foreign climes, working in foreign climes. But this thing that I just took, I was forced to do what, apparently, come to find out, most people actually do on holiday. Nothing. Something like 50% of the population don't even leave the hotel. Isn't that incredible? You go somewhere, exotique, pay an enormous amount of money to get there, and when you get there, you don't see it. Because you staple yourself to whichever pool lounger hasn't been annexed by Germany, and that's it for 2 weeks or whatever it is. And I've never done that before, and it's actually quite liberating. So I could quite easily, starting this very second, do nothing for the rest of my life, Raj. All you have to do to facilitate that is to pay for my every desire. It's that simple. Look, I'm getting from him. Blimey. If looks could kill, I would be pushing up daisies round about now. Have they showed the second episode of that, by the way?
I don't think they're going to till next year, are they?
Oh, yeah, that's right. They're going to show the entire series and then the second episode next year, yeah. Because their ITV's schedule is so jam-packed with quality product. What have they got on tonight? I bet it's absolute rubbish from start to finish. Isn't Coronation Street on twice a day now? I think it's on twice. I mean, if that doesn't, if that's not an example of a paucity of ideas, then I'm a banana. Let's have I talked to Andy? Yeah, I have. Let's have Merton Park. Hello, Paul.
Hi.
Paul.
Yeah, I'm just going to reiterate what some of your previous callers have said about the welfare state.
Yeah.
I feel that the welfare state is encouraging a huge proportion of the population of this country to stay out of work. It's inciting people not to work.
It's making them dependent on the government.
On the taxpayer.
Well, that's right, but on us. On the government. So, yeah. One theory about this, one argument, by, I suppose mostly right-wing theorists, is that the reason that this has happened is if you make people reliant on the government, then they're more likely to, just as you're more likely to love your mum because you were reliant on her, for...
You encourage a dependency culture. Well, that's basically what it is.
You put it perfectly.
Mm.
Yeah, that's perhaps what's happened.
That's basically all my mother was widowed when I was very young in the 1950s. She had a child after my father died out of wedlock, and she had to have the child adopted. There was no support for people like that in those days.
Right.
But now you see what they get a flat or a house depending on the number of children they've got out of wedlock, and they get everything else thrown in as well. Child benefit, housing benefit, the whole lot.
I think one crucial difference between then and now is that then that sort of thing wasn't encouraged, or rather, more than that, it was sort of looked down upon. It was positively.
But don't you think there was a reason for that? You know,
because it's not good for
society
society
now, and there's so much misery and crime in certain parts of London, especially.
Yes.
Because these children have never had any guidance from
no father has ever been present.
Well, either mother or father.
Yeah.
And I just think and all basically what it boils down to is they're living on the state.
Right.
They're living on the taxpayer.
Because it seems to be that society doesn't disapprove of that much anymore, whereas that kind of, like, having children out of wedlock, single parents, that sort of thing, society used to disapprove of it quite strongly.
For a good reason.
For a reason, because, if society is an organism, then certain behaviours of parts of that organism aren't advantageous to the health of the organism itself.
And not to the health of the individuals involved either.
Well, yeah, but, society as an organism is usually acting on the interest of the organism as a whole, and single parenthood isn't in the interests of the organism of society as a whole.
No.
So it's not that people just randomly take against people like that. Their societal disapproval is there for a reason, and it's survival of the species,
and
really. That's what that's about. Yeah, of course, yeah. But because there was disapproval then, it was less common. And in other societies there's disapproval. You go to most of the rest of the world, in fact. They disapprove of it more than we do. You go to Amsterdam, they disapprove of just this very thing. They disapprove of no end of things.
Yeah,
which is why they take fewer drugs. They have sex less young than we do. I kind of put that around the wrong way, but you know what I mean. In almost every respect of what used to be considered good behaviour, Dutch society is better than we are because they still disapprove. We don't seem to disapprove of anything anymore.
No, and we're paying the cost as well, not just in moral terms, but in financial terms.
Yeah.
The welfare state must have increased by about 100% since the 1950s.
I think that's exactly right. It's about double, yeah.
And we're paying for it.
And I think it's not since the 50s. I think it's more like since in the last 10 years. It's actually incredible how it's increased. Okay, I've got to go, Paul, but thanks very much.
All right.
Cheers. A shocking benefit black spot map of Britain shows towns where 1 in 5 potential workers is claiming handouts. 3.4 million people have been claiming payouts, including incapacity benefits, severe disablement allowance, income support, job seekers allowance, and all the rest of it for more than 2 years. It's an increase of more than 250,000 since 1999. So it's just, it's like just lately. 100 council areas where at least 1 in 10 has been claiming for 2 years or more, and several where 1 in 5 is doing so. And of the top 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, half are in Wales, and 2 are in Liverpool, which is Wales' border. Seems to be something wrong with there. This is LBC 97.3.
LBC
97.3. The time 9:30. Hello again.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm all right. I'm quite tired.
You've been to the Soho Hotel.
Soho Hotel, yes.
Right.
Well, I've been there. I've been in Leicester Square. I was at the BAFTAs last night.
Where was that? That was just by Liberties, whatever that was. The Playhouse?
The London Palladium.
Palladium, yeah, right. Yeah. Did you chat to Brucey?
I did, yeah. Spoke to Brucey.
How was he?
He was brilliant. I love Brucey.
I sat in front of Brucey, and it's his wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
At I can't remember what it was. I think it was Sadler's Wells. He sat behind me and he said, "Oh, this is a nice theatre." Theatre? Who says that? And he talked through the whole thing.
He did, he?
He just continued to talk. I couldn't believe it.
Did you tell him to shut up?
Well, I didn't, because it's Brucey. I thought, well, you don't tell him to shut up, do you?
No.
But he just kept on talking. I was stunned.
We were laughing today, actually, some showbiz colleagues, because he's not funny, really. You know, it's nice to see you.
Attacking Bruce Forsyth.
I'm not attacking him, because I laugh at him. He makes me laugh, but I don't know why. You know, his catchphrases really aren't that funny.
No.
And the good thing about him is it's all clean humour. He doesn't need to swear to make people laugh or tell mucky jokes or anything. But, look, why do we laugh at him? What's so funny about it?
I think, what is Bruce's appeal? he's completely unthreatening. You know that that because you sort of put yourself into the person that's like a member of the public that's on his show. You sort of take on you root for them, right?
Yeah.
And you know that he isn't going to upset them, give them a hard time. Everyone's going to come out smiling. So there's that. Like, he's just nice from top to toe.
Yeah.
But he also it gives good effort.
Really good effort.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
that's partly it. Yeah.
That's okay. Cool.
Unthreatening
nice.
and tries hard.
Doesn't bully.
Like a big scout. Like a big tap dancing scout.
Bob a job.
Right, so what are we here to talk about? Or what are you here to talk about?
Tonight, I went to this premiere of Three and Out, which is a new film starring Mackenzie Crook and Imelda Staunton and others. And there's a big hoo-ha over it.
Yeah, this was on our news.
Because of the subject matter of the movie. Three and Out is based on this urban myth that if tube drivers hit three people, there's three people jumping in front of their train, they get paid off. Because they're supposedly not be able to cope with three people hitting the front of their train.
Huh.
And so
I hadn't heard that before.
No, well, it's not true.
Okay.
And Asleth were down there. Well, they basically said all last week that they were going to do this big protest at the premiere, which is one of the reasons why I went along, because I probably wouldn't have covered it otherwise, because it wasn't a massive London premiere, no really huge stars there, and I've already done the interviews for the movie, but because it was going to be this big story with them protesting down there, I thought I'd go down there and see what was going on, and nothing happened.
Well, what's their main point of contention?
Well, it seems to be that they think that this film is making a laughing matter out of people jumping in front of trains, and they're saying, this is very disrespectful to our drivers because it is actually very stressful, and people can get laid off because of it, and they're not paid off. And they also said that that the film is stating that this is a true fact, and actually that's not true, because at the end of the movie it says, no, this isn't. It's just an urban myth. It's just something that's gone around forever, that this is something that happens to tube drivers, and actually it doesn't, and the film doesn't say it does either. It just takes it as a very loose starting point to the movie, really.
Right.
I mean, the film itself must be so chuffed about this, because...
Well, yeah, they're in the news.
Every single headline, and it's not a good film.
Isn't it?
It's not a good movie. I couldn't believe how bad it was, actually.
Well, you know
Crook.
what? When I saw the picture of the poster, I thought, there's no way that's a good film.
It's rubbish. It really is. It was a waste of nearly 2 hours of my life.
Yeah.
One of those.
Well, you'll never get them back.
Never. And it's happened so many times.
So
quite a lot recently, isn't it?
Who's responsible for this film, then?
Well, it's Mackenzie Crook and these writers. I think he's had quite a lot to do with getting it together, and he's certainly got some big names on board. Imelda Staunton, who's one of our great actresses. She plays the wife of the guy who's going to commit suicide, and she was down there tonight and spoke to her on the red carpet. She thinks that the Asleth are overreacting.
It's a black comedy, which is,
She's right about that, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, if you had to remove all controversial subject matter from every film that was made, anything that might upset anybody, nothing would get made outside of Disney cartoons.
You would be left with romantic comedies and Disney cartoons.
Yeah. Movies starring Hugh Grant.
Yeah, lots of those.
Spare us.
Lots of Love Actuallys.
I can't... the pain. The horror.
I have seen 3 romantic comedies in the past 3 days.
I am so sorry.
I know. 2 of them I didn't mind, but that's probably because I'm a girl. Anyway, it was a really weird premiere tonight, though, because there seemed to be lots of, I don't know why, but there were loads of glamour models there. And the likes of Danielle Lloyd, who you probably won't know, she was in Celebrity Big Brother, got involved in that horrendous race row. She used to go out to showing him. Anyway, lots of people like her, and Jodie Marsh, do you know?
I think if a person is defined by who they used to go out with...
I know.
Then... my interest ceases right there.
You and me both, Nick. I mean, I was actually down there tonight, so, why am I here?
But I pity you, because your job is to know who all these people are.
Well, I do.
Can just ignore them.
I do know who they are. That's the really sad thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll take it to my grave that I knew who Jodie Marsh was.
And presumably they were all there, because, as you say, it's not exactly like an A-list cast out there on the carpet, is there? So somebody had to... They invited all these people in the hope that one of them would show a giant amount of flesh and get in the paper the next day.
Watch out for Jodie Marsh and her new boobs. She's had them done. And then
in which respect? Bigger or smaller?
Massive.
Bigger?
Horrible.
Bigger?
Yes, it was absolutely disgusting. I mean, they were like bazookas.
Right, Raj is on the edge of his seat. It's the only thing in this show that he's been interested about so far.
She will be on the front pages tomorrow. It's very nasty. Mackenzie Crick was there and trying to ignore the protesters. One did shout out at him. I think that was the only sort of interesting thing that happened. He said, how would you like it if you were really a tube driver and someone jumped in front of your train? And he said back that, you need to watch the film before you criticise it. He was trying to enjoy his premiere.
It's great. I'm having a great time.
That's a kind of a nonsense, really, isn't it? I mean, you might as well say, "Oi, Mackenzie, how would you feel if you were actually a pirate with one eye?"
Exactly. I mean, it is all absolutely ridiculous. This one guy who was very keen to talk to all of the press, I thought I'd put him in this, because he's this guy called Stephen Grant, and he's apparently the district organiser of ASLEF, and bit of a job's worth I found, and just wanted to speak to anybody and anyone about why he was there. And it does seem actually that most of their beef is with the London Underground itself.
Our concerns are first and foremost that London Underground...
He hasn't seen the film.
Right. Well, I suppose you've got a good point. Is London Underground, is that near London Underground?
Yeah, I think it might be.
Right, okay.
Quite close, just round the corner. From there.
Who else was there that you had a chat with?
Well, Kerry Katona was supposed to be there.
Now, remind me.
You know who Kerry Katona is.
Who's Kerry Katona?
Kerry Katona, okay, she used to be in Atomic Kitten, then she got married to Brian McFadden. She's had lots of babies. She's done a horrendous...
McFadden.
Yeah, he was in Westlife.
Oh.
And she's represented by Max Clifford. She's done this really awful reality show on her life called Kerry Katona Crazy in Love, about her and her new boyfriend, who she's now had 2 babies with. And it's really quite horrible. Anyway, she's just had a baby. She's actually represented by Max Clifford.
Right.
He does speak out for Kerry a lot, and he was there tonight.
It's a living.
Yeah, I know. And the worst thing is, though, Nick, and I think you might have heard this story, is that she has actually named her baby, her new baby, after Max Clifford.
I did. I heard that, and I thought that if that's not a snapshot of modern Britain, I don't know what is. Woman comes out of rehab, names a new bye after her PR manager.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, Max was there, Kerry wasn't, and he wanted to talk about the baby, and also made a very strange revolution about Simon Cowell.
I'm not fond of the baby, but she's named Mel.
Simon Cowell's having a baby.
I think we might have a very long wait for that one.
I think he could actually breastfeed a baby with those boobs, Simon Cowell.
Well, if they're real.
If they're real.
If they're real.
Do you think he's had enlargement surgery?
So I heard. I don't know. I mean, yeah, who knows? Who knows? Right. But it was all a very... I have to say, Nick, I've come and spoken to you about some fairly good do's, and even if they weren't going to be good, they've turned out to be good.
Yeah.
This... it was just a bit flat, and there was no one really there, apart from Glamour Girls, and Max Clifford talking about the baby that's been named after him.
So it wasn't the film that was bad, it was the
premiere.
The junket that surrounded it.
Everything. The film was bad, and the premiere was bad.
Because when I saw The Simpsons, it was probably the least funny film I've ever seen in my life. But the cinema that I saw it in, on one of these sort of press things, I think it was in the Soho Hotel, as a matter of fact.
Was it?
Oh, the nibbles that went with that, fantastic. I'd actually sit through that film again, just to have the nibbles and the booze that went along with that movie.
And those chairs, those great big armchairs.
Lovely.
Yeah, no, the Soho Hotel is a great place. There was another screening there tonight of a film called Maid of Honour. I'm not recommending that you go and see it because it's a romantic comedy starring Patrick Dempsey, who is in Grey's Anatomy. I have to really explain this one because not many people know who Patrick Dempsey is. Quite a few women know who Patrick Dempsey is because he's gorgeous, and he stars in this series called Grey's Anatomy that's on ITV now, is it? It was on Living. No, it's on Channel 5 now as well, and he plays a doctor, and his nickname is McDreamy.
Coincidentally, mine too.
Is it? Yeah. I can see why. He was also did a big film at Christmas called Enchanted.
That's
Disney film.
That was when a cartoon turns into real life. A Snow White character shows up in New York. I saw that on the plane coming back from Thailand. I almost walked out
of the window. It's
Yes.
a brilliant film.
Oh, shut up.
I loved Enchanted.
It is awful, painful. Other passengers were watching me watch that. That's how embarrassing it was.
Would you remember the lawyer that the cartoon girl gets together with? Were you watching closely?
Well, the screen was quite close, but I wasn't paying that much attention.
It's hard to on plays. You've got the background noise all the
Yeah.
time, haven't you? Anyway, that's who he plays.
Right.
And he's now starring in this new film called Maid of Honour, alongside Michelle Monaghan. I didn't mind it. It was very cheesy and very cliched. She gets engaged to a Scottish guy. Patrick Dempsey plays a guy who's a commitment phobe and just wants to stay single for the rest of his life.
Oh, let me guess. It all ends up happily ever after.
Yeah, he's best friends with her. It takes her to get engaged to another guy for him to realise that he's been in love with her for all of these years.
All those movies, they're the same ones, over and over. Why do they bother making the same film again and again and again?
It's just because it works, isn't it?
If there's no gun in the advert for the film, I'm not going.
You're such a boy. That's exactly what my husband says to me.
Really?
Exactly. Does it contain guns?
Yes.
No. Right. No,
Car
I'm not
chases,
watching it then.
explosions. Forget it.
No, this is no guns.
Right.
There's very amusing scenes where they go to Scotland, and it's the most cliched American version of Scotland you've ever seen. It's pouring with rain. The family live in a castle on a hill, and they make whiskey. It's just, I mean, it's. I don't know, if you like rom-coms, then you'll probably like it. If you like Patrick Dempsey, you'll definitely like it. And I spoke to him earlier, and he was very nice.
Actually, we don't have time for that clip,
no.
I'm afraid. But I'll see you again.
Do you want me to come back tomorrow?
That'd be great.
I can tell you about Patrick, and I can tell you about Russell Brand.
You were talking to Russell Brand there, absolutely. OK, I'll see you tomorrow.
Cool.
Thanks very much, Joe. It's 9:46. LBC Travel with Karen Mercer.
The A2 West Thorn Avenue is still running late.
I love that Nick Ferrari promo because of the music that's in the back of it. And I saw that movie again just last night. Oh, what a tremendous film that is. Number 1 is awful. 2, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. It's right up there. Am I right? With one of the greatest popcorn movies of all time. It's great. On Saturday night, Friday night, The Matrix again, because it's just come around again on high def on the Sky. Wow. That has, I think that, Terminator 2, the 2 best action films of all time. Isn't that right, Raj?
They're certainly very good, yeah.
Beat them. There's no film that's ever been made to beat either Terminator 2 or The Matrix. You know that that's true. Both of which have enormous amounts of guns and car chases and explosions. Actually, there's no car chase in The Matrix, but there's lots of combat, lots of fighting, Victoria. You'd love it.
What about something like Die Hard?
Well, you know what? Die Hard is cheap in comparison. I mean, Die Hard is good, but it looks like it was made on a budget of what I've got in my pocket, by comparison. Certainly, there's nothing better than Terminator 2 for sheer visceral roller coaster fury action, and I think The Matrix is. I was just stunned at how good it was. I haven't seen it in a few years. I'd like to see it again now. I want to see it now. Anyway, both of those films that you could watch on this laptop that we got, because it's got a DVD player. In fact, it's got a DVD rewriter in it. It's also got an Intel processor, bing bong, and 120 gigabyte hard drive.
It is so hard.
Built-in wireless, webcam, it's got the lot, baby. It's one of these reverse auctions. The person with the lowest unique bid wins. To bid, text LBC plus your bid in pence to 88821. If it was a bid of 27 pence, it would be LBC 27 to 88821. Bids cost £1.50 plus your standard network rate. Lines closed 7 p.m. Tuesday 22nd of April. Bidders must be over 16. See lbc.co.uk for full terms and conditions. Bermondsey, hello, Peter.
Good evening, Nick.
Peter.
Yeah, we were talking about icons.
Yes.
To me, in my lifetime, and millions of others, was Cassius Marcellus Clay. And then I give him a boring name, Mohammed Ali. Now, when he was...
Right, he took that name, didn't he?
Well, yeah, but when he was decked by Henry Cooper...
Henry Cooper.
Yeah, I mean, my dad and I followed him, Cassius, and he was the fastest heavyweight you'll ever see. He was, and anybody, not because what's known as a white man decked him, but we were totally and utterly stunned that when he got decked, and that is one of my situation in my lifetime that stands out. And to this day, I still rate him as the greatest we've seen. He was funny, really good-looking fella, and he had everything going for him.
He sure did. I mean, for a man who got hit in the head a lot, he did have a sharp intellect.
Oh, he was brilliant. I mean, and these people are like beacons, Nick, aren't they? They come through life and they just stand out, and he was absolute magic. We used to watch him on Fight of the Week in the early 60s, and he was so fast, you wouldn't have believed anybody could catch him, never mind deck him. But can I go on to...
There is by the way, if you're not old enough to have caught him in his prime, there is an excellent documentary series called When We Were Kings, which comes around every now and again. It's superb.
Ah, I'll have to do that. You know, you were saying about we can't get our kids to go to work. Well, wasn't it that very famous Scotsman called A. Blair who said education, 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 and in consequence they're all going to school farther and farther, and the work ethic has disappeared, hasn't it, really?
Yeah, that's education spelled EDJURKASHUN.
Nick, can I just pick up on that film, you know, about the underground?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, now, you know, you've heard of Andy Hamilton.
Who's that?
He's an absolute brilliant writer. He's done so many things. He's a little short guy, he is, and he's done all manner of things. I'm trying to think of some of them that were on the television. But what he did, it's one of the blackest humours I've ever listened to. And Radio 2, it's give us oldies up, basically, yeah. And now and then I look through what they're advertising, and I'll pick up on the comedy. And I think his name was Green. He's a modern-day comic. And he played Andy Hamilton doing a scene where he's standing waiting for the underground station to come, and he knows that this woman's going to jump in front of the train. Now, I know this is a scenario that doesn't present humour, but it was so funny. And he knew the woman was going to do it, and he was talking to her, and she said, oh, you don't know the problems I've got. And then, because he's trying to talk her out of it, and she said to him, you're so selfish. He said, I'm selfish. You're going to jump in front of the train and we'll all be late for work. And it all came round that as humour, and it was terribly black humour. And I know people who worked on the underground, and these poor drivers and the overground trains. I mean, when these people jump in front of them, I mean, God only knows how they can cope.
Well, somebody's got to go and clean it up. It seems it seems an unreasonable way to end it all. Yeah, but we're straying into dark territory.
Sorry.
Peter, thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Ta-ra. Here is Catford. Oh, Trixie.
Hello.
Trixie.
I'm just trying to think about what I might say to these people who come round to interview me about my sex life.
Well, you can make stuff up, Trixie.
Well, yeah, but I could then, give them a left hook, or if it's a gentleman, I could invite him in and say, well, I haven't had my daily quota yet.
Right, I can't think of anything at the moment. Maybe we'll just make stuff up.
Yeah, maybe I could add you in my list, couldn't I?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
we could make a pact, Trixie, if we could back up each other's story.
Oh, that would be brilliant.
Because I'm sure that they will cross-check, and if your stories don't match, then fines will be attached.
Why don't we do that for a joke?
Not even for a joke.
You know why they want the names of children who died shortly after birth. It's because of all these false birth certificates and false claims. That's what they're getting at.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
that's it. They're trying to track down fraudsters and fraudulent claims and things like that.
Well, that's not the stated aim. The stated aim is just to ask you who you're doing it with, how long have you been doing it, was it any good, how did they feel, how did you feel while you were doing it, and how do you rate them from 1 to 10?
So what does one do if one doesn't want to answer it? You just say, "Go away, dear."
I really don't know. I mean, if you get selected, is it against the law for you to refuse? I would imagine, which would you guess? I would guess yes.
I want to be deselected.
Trixie, I've got to go. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers,
bye.
my dear. Ta-da. Hey, Raj, what have we talked about today, then, eh?
We spoke about how to dress courses.
Oh, yeah.
How to shop. Speaking up.
Mm-hmm. What?
Speaking up.
Yes.
Sex lives. Eric Pickles, crazy name, very sane guy.
Yes.
Intrusive nature of surveys.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. and Mrs. with consequences. We're all cavemen. Googly eyes. keeping to speed limits, weather, mini heat waves, because apparently one's coming.
That's right.
Bank holidays, manganese bronze, Singaporean Transport Department.
Oh, well done.
Thank you. Surveillance to society, protecting the children, making a fuss, overseas surveillance, invisibility, why bother economy, think tanks, searing news images, saving...
Out of time again. Clive's next. LBC.
Life's full of decisions. Tea or coffee?